Hi, so in this video I want to continue on and talk about a few things. Um, yeah, with what I talked about previously about maps and yeah, add some more thoughts to what I said previously. Okay, so like I talked about with various concepts previously in the maps with the illustrations and so forth. So one of the things that I talked about was with streams of movement and streams of, um, uh, I guess you could say, vehicles, and these, using the term loosely, roads. I talked about the concept of various loops, and these would create for some interesting drives, an interesting way of looping through the um, the map, and interesting, it would create for some interesting views. So yeah, with these loops, driving through these loops and driving through these wide, like I said, using the term loosely, roads, and with these vehicles there can be very interesting views. Imagine these views during the daytime, at nighttime, at dawn, at dusk, at different times of the day, in different types of weather, in maybe, yeah, imagine it driving in the morning or evening or late at night. And again, with the various ways in which the city can be lit up, it can create interesting views. And like I talked about previously, with various water forms being parts of the map, so there can be imagined a certain area of the map or multiple areas where there's a waterfront in the map, and the loop goes through or on the edge of or near this waterfront, and it can create for some beautiful views. It can, maybe there can be an ocean on one side, and the view is the ocean on one side, and on the other side the beautiful city lit up at night. And driving through this region of the loop, it would create very interesting views. It would be a beautiful um, experience to, yeah, to, and again, this would be one part. With various other parts, it can create some other interesting views. So like I talked about with all the terrains, it can be, again, these different terrains can create interesting views. So I guess going through one of these loops, making loops of this, it would create maybe an interesting experience of seeing multiple things and going through and seeing these views of beautiful, um, interesting landscapes and cityscapes. So I think that would be an interesting view, and skylines. So there are so many different things that can have a progression in these loops, and it would create for an interesting uh, theater sort of experience. I think it would be very interesting to have a drive through these loops, and there can be multiple of these through multiple regions of the map. And like I said, these maps can be imagined in various scales. Maybe, again, maybe certain maps have a focus on certain regions which have some interesting things. There can be certain smaller regions, there can be huge, vast regions, vast expanses with lots of things going on, various climate patterns and so forth, various terrains. So I thought that was kind of an interesting idea with these loops and having that experience, that progression of, and again, these can be high-speed loops, so it would be an amazing experience with the speed, the velocity of the experience. That wind, that beautiful breeze running through, and all these beautiful sights. So I think it's interesting. Um, and yeah, so another thing that I wanted to talk about, with these maps having so many possibilities and so many things that can have um, that are present in different regions and areas of the map, various cities, various towns, various other architectural concepts, various um, architectural creations, and again, infrastructure creations, and with roads and streams of movements and natural terrains and landscapes and so on. I think an interesting way, yeah, and other physical features, terrain features, mountains, plateaus, and so on. So I think especially mountains can be used in, just as picking one thing, mountains can be used as an interesting way of, because from a mountain, a large region can be seen. You can see, you can behold great views from mountains. So yeah, so I think with this, a great concept can be the concept of exploration, the concept of going out there and seeing what's out there, exploring things, and see what you might find. So there are different regions of the maps, and again, I thought this would be an interesting concept, is to have certain things, certain objects, certain artifacts, certain creations, certain beautiful technologies that can be present, and these can be in various areas of the maps, and exploration, through exploration, these things can be found. Maybe there can be certain parts of these artifacts or these technologies in different regions of the maps, and when you finally put them together, this is just one way of thinking about it. Okay, so they can also be found all together. I just thought maybe for some things it might be interesting to have them in different locations, and when they're finally put together, they create something really truly interesting and very different sort of artifact or technology in some really beautiful and strange and gorgeous kind of way. These gorgeous artifacts, they would, I think that would also be a great way of great addition, a great thing that comes from the exploration. So I thought that would be an interesting idea um, to have, to find. Again, it goes with the concept of, you're out there, you're exploring, you're enjoying these beautiful landscapes and cityscapes and skylines and regions, and what you might find these beautiful things that you will love having them. So I thought this would be an interesting idea with the exploration aspect of it. Okay, so, and again, these can be imagined in detailed ways in which these things, these artifacts or technologies, they can be they can work, or they can be put together in very detailed ways, like I talked about previously with the VTOL cockpits and the interfaces and interior spaces in which these are imagined in detailed, um, sharp ways. These technologies and these artifacts can also be imagined in those ways, and they have very specific aesthetics and functions. And yeah, I think they can be very interesting and very, there's a certain word I would like to say. I think I would say it's strange and beautiful kind of way, in a very aesthetic, aesthetically strange kind of way, in a way that it just pulls you towards itself. So again, with that word, yeah, that is just one thing that I wanted to talk about. Like I said, exploration, exploring things, exploring these vast regions, these maps. That would be a, a great theme to this concept of a map. Okay, and like I said, the illustrations of the map can be very detailed. They can be very brilliant and colored, layered way of illustrating these maps. So I think that would be a great representation of these explorations and expeditions. So yeah, that is another thing that I wanted to say. Another thing that I wanted to talk about is, like I've talked about previously, with various archetypes. So these archetypes can now be, um, certain things from certain archetypes can be taken and put together to create an array of characters. And these characters can be in this map, so this map would be populated and it's alive with people. And these people, they can, another concept with the map is that it can have these social interactions, their social lives, the way these characters socialize and know each other. That would be a very interesting aspect of this map. So all the various emotions, all the various ways in which human beings love to communicate and love to be with each other, so that it would have add that social life, it would add that socializing and a beautiful social layer to this entire thing, where there are various social interactions between people, and great things are happening, great events are happening. People meet people, and they know there are these yeah, there are various groups, I guess, maybe. And now these again, people are meeting each other, and they like being with each other, and again, new friendships are forming, new romances are forming. So it would be great. And like I talked about, these would be based on archetypes that I've talked about previously, and these would be ideal forms, ideal human forms, very beautiful, very sharp and ideal, brilliant, intelligent, and again, empathetic and wonderful people. Again, these would be, and like I've talked about previously, they would be very aesthetic in their uh, in their physique, in their ideal looks, and in their ideal forms. So I think putting these things together and populating this map, and with various other concepts that I've talked about, so that would be an interesting thing to think about. And yeah, so I think with all these things that I've talked about, I think this would truly make a whole new layer of sense when I can show them visually, when I show these things visually, because there are so many things that I've talked about. And when I show these things visually, that would be a more, with every single detail, the way I would like to see it. I would like to imagine these details when it is finally seen in that kind of a direct, visual, detailed way. Then it would again add an entirely new visual layer of what I'm talking about and the way I'm imagining this in my mind, and that would transmit in a visual way. So I think it would make a great visual experience, um, in a visual illustration, in a visual, three-dimensional, moving, alive, breathing, living illustration, three-dimensional illustration, colored illustration. So yeah, it would be it would be visually brilliant. It would be visually vivid. So yeah, so that's what I wanted to say. Yeah, those are some thoughts that I kind of wanted to add to what I've talked about previously with the maps. So yeah, that is the thoughts I have for now. I will add more thoughts. I will add more concepts. I will add more things to the various lists. But so far, I've talked about plenty of things, and I think this framework is starting to emerge. I don't know how much of this, because I can see this visually in my mind. I can see this, and I'm explaining it with words. I don't know how um, how perceptive it is, how um, how how you would imagine it, but I think I don't know. Yeah, so but I'm starting to see this visually now. It's making visual sense to me in a very direct visual way, and I can feel this world has started to become alive in my mind. I can feel that this world is now alive. So yeah, hope you're starting to see it in that way. And yeah, so we've talked about plenty of things, and I think, yeah, I have a lot more stuff still to say. So I will talk about more things, I will create more things, and yeah. So yeah, that's it for this video. And let me know any of your thoughts on this, if there's anything interesting that you found. So yeah, let me know what you think. And that's it for this video. I'll add more things. So yeah, that's it for this video, and I'll see you in the next videos. Okay.